For the standing assessment, you're going to want to be standing. So the first step is just to get into a place where you'd have space around you. Not that we're going to use it, but you don't want to feel encumbered. Shake it out a little bit. As usual, we're going to keep two principles in mind. The first is keep it simple. Don't try to do too much too soon, and don't overthink this process, right? The second is don't try to find too many things that are going on in your body in your first try or in one day, right? If you can find one difference, one sensation that feels a little different after a routine than before, that's progress. That's all we really need that day. And that's really all we might need from a standing assessment generally, right? So we're going to do a sort of body scan, and I want you to bring the lessons that we learned in this assessment to when you do the routines in this sequence. The first thing we want to pay attention to is our feet. How is the right foot making contact with the ground compared to the left? Where do you feel the body weight most in your foot on the right side compared to the left? Is the body weight more on the outside of the right foot or the inside? Is the body weight more on the outside of the left foot or the inside of the foot? Do you feel like there's equal distribution of body weight between the left foot and the right foot? The feet we can spend a lot of time on, so there's a lot to pay attention to, right? You may feel like one foot's pointing out the other way. Anytime a part of our body is making contact with the ground, that's a really pivotal area to focus on. So I recommend spending some time here and really seeing if you can identify some type of difference from the left or right, or just some sensation or something that comes into your awareness when you put attention onto the feet. From there, let's go upstream a little bit and go to the calves. Does one calf feel a little stiffer or tighter than the other calf? And if you haven't, I recommend closing your eyes. My eyes are closed, so I recommend closing your eyes if you haven't done so already. So the calves, not only can we feel if one side is a little stiffer than the other, but when people lean forward, when we lean forward a lot, we put a lot of body weight into the calves, right? The calves really have to stretch and hold this upright. So pay attention if you can notice there that if the calves feel stiff and you feel there's like a lot of tension there, do you also feel that your body weight's leaning forward, like your whole body is leaning forward? And then move upstream a little bit more to the back of the knees. Maybe the right knee feels a little bit different than the left knee. Maybe there's some other interesting things happening at the knee level. Going up to the quads and the hamstrings. There's a lot of muscle tissue here, so there may be some stiffness, there may be some tightness, there may be some other sensations that are happening. So just focus on there for a little bit. And then, of course, going up to the pelvis and hips and paying attention to how one side feels compared to the other. I would assume that there's a lot of focus on the hips. This is the Happy Hips program, so you may want to overanalyze how the symptomatic hip feels. Notice that, right? That is something to pay attention to right there. Trying to put a lot of attention and focus on the area that hurts and being a little bit more non-objective, right? In that area of the body. How is your awareness and how were you trying to identify things in the body when you're at the feet compared to your hips? You want to bring the same type of introspection, right? The same type of analysis. You don't want to now zoom into the hip that brought you here and try to analyze every little sensation that's happening. Keep it open, keep it loose. Stay curious. How does the left side feel? How does the right side feel? And then move up. Move up to the low back. Move up to the abs and the core and the belly. How does all that feel today? What if you could zoom out a little bit and just notice how that whole lumbosacral region feels? Maybe there's some rotation there. Maybe it feels like you're tilted, your pelvis is tilted in a certain way. We're not trying to change anything. We're just trying to feel how our body feels today. And what you'll notice is when you do this in your routines, especially the standing assessments, is that you'll notice changes. I feel for me, standing is where I could really notice the most changes happening from when I pay attention before a routine compared to after. And then moving up to the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, just seeing how the whole upper body is sitting on your skeleton today. You feel like your shoulders are kind of slouched forward. Maybe you feel like your chest is protruding out. Maybe there's some stiffness in the left side of the neck and not the right, or vice versa. Maybe there's more stiffness on the right side. There's no right way to do this, right? I'm just giving you some advice and some examples of what to pay attention to. And then another thing I really like looking at is what my arms are doing, right? How are my arms kind of sitting on my body here, resting on my body? What you'll notice is, if you really pay attention, is what part of your hand is touching the left side, the left leg, compared to the right hand and the right leg. Maybe your index finger is touching the right leg, but on the left side it's only your pinky, right? That shows some rotation, and the arm is sitting a different way. That's not to say that something's wrong with the arms, right? It's just showing you how the body's kind of out of balance right now when you're standing. So that's one I really like, and that's one of the first few things I noticed in my standing assessment, and it changed really quickly after a routine where I focus on some shoulder work, right? So another thing to pay attention to is not just the hands, but also your arms here near the lats. How is that sitting on your upper body here, in your ribs? Maybe one side, the arm's kind of flat against the ribs, and the other side's, there's a big space, right? And you feel like it's really imbalanced there. And finally, let's just go up to the head and paying attention to how the head is sitting on this entire body of yours. You know, is the chin kind of up? Is it protruding forward, which is common in today with all the computer and phone use? But no judgment. And these are all things that we could kind of pay attention to. And again, we're not trying to figure everything out, right? Today's kind of a global lesson on this assessment, but when you do this every day in your routine, to see if you can notice one thing every few days, or maybe one new thing a week. And if that thing or that observation that you notice changes after a routine, you know that routine is super helpful for you, and you know the exercises in that routine is doing something good to balance out your body. So one last overview of just the entire foot to head here. Just one last check-in. And there you go. That's your standing assessment.